back to Life Science with Mrs. Miller. We are focusing on animals, particularly vertebrate animals and phylum Chordata. Section 2 today is on amphibians and reptiles. The last video focused on fish. So what do we want to be able to do today? We wanted to be able to describe how amphibians have adapted to live in water and on land, explain what has happened during frog metamorphosis, and identify the adaptations that allow reptiles to live on land. So some of our key vocabulary includes hibernation, estivation, and amniotic egg. So amphibians, what are they? Well, at some point they spend part of their lives on land and part in water. And they have a unique adaptation for survival. This means that they can actually go into hibernation or sleep during winter months, and they go into a period of estivation during summer, which is another type of sleep during the extreme heat of the summertime. Now, almost all amphibians are characterized by having an exoskeleton, that outside skeleton instead of having a bone structure on the inside to support them on land. Most of them also have lungs so that they can breathe, but they can also breathe through their skin. They can also hear, but they usually have like a tympanic membrane versus ears, and they can see as well on land. Now, they also have usually have very long tongues to capture prey, like insects. We see this in frogs and most lizards and even in turtles. So amphibians also have to go through a process called metamorphosis. Now there's two types. We have complete and incomplete. Now during this process, all amphibians are hatched as eggs in water. Now they can go into an aquatic larval stage. So here we have the frog metamorphosis as the egg and then the tadpole. And in which they breathe through gills, and then as an adult they'll live on land with functioning legs and lungs. Now they also have that external fertilization, which means that they lay their eggs in water and the male comes along and fertilizes the eggs. In complete metamorphosis, as with the frog, we see it goes from eggs to tadpole, looking completely different from the adult, to the metamorph, which has characteristics of both the juvenile and the adult. And then we have the complete adult that looks nothing like the tadpole. Now, in incomplete metamorphosis, we see where we have only 3 stages, where we have the larval form will look very, very similar or almost exactly the same as the adult, only being smaller. Now, reptiles. Very similar to amphibians. However, reptiles can live on land all of their life. Reptiles are ectothermic animals that generally live almost completely on land. Remember, ectotherm means cold-blooded. Now, they can vary greatly depending on their body size. Now, some of them have hard shells, like the tortoise. Or crocodiles and alligators have very, very hard scales. Crocodiles and alligators actually live in or near water, but there's lizards and snakes that may not live in water at all. Generally, they do use their tongue for smell, although we knew crocodiles and alligators don't exactly do that. Now, some of their special adaptations include those thick, dry scales for protection and so that they don't lose water while they're out of water. They also have complete lungs, so they can breathe. They have an internal fertilization process. That means that they have this egg, but it's fertilized inside instead of having to be laid in water. Okay. Now they also. Reptiles will also generally nourish and protect their young until they've hatched and are fully developed and able to defend themselves. So, what a listening check are we looking at now? Well, what amphibian senses are adapted for life on land? Let's sequence the steps of a frog metamorphosis. We also need to know what adaptations do reptiles have to live on land. Okay, so that's the end of the section. So you can move on tomorrow. Make sure to write your questions down, and we will see you later.